There were top-level ministers that have made like suggestions to postpone the elections, essentially extending President Jokowi's rule beyond 2024, which is what causes the furor in the first place. But these ministers are either so powerful, like Luhut Panjaitan, which is Jokowi's top lieutenant and his go-to hand in terms of getting foreign investors to invest in the country, mainly from China and Gulf countries, and also minister who is part of his political coalition, such as Airlangga Hartarto, which is the coordinating minister for economic affairs. But his political vehicle, the ruling party PDIP, has opposed the idea strongly. So now the question is whether the ministers will follow the order or not. So, well, the president has told his ministers to stop the discussions about elections postponement. The critics said that the president has only issued a gag order rather than explicitly ruling out the possibility of serving beyond his current term. So the president's remarks suggest that, even if the issue is being seriously considered, the proponents of the idea will have less ability to enlist support from key political elements, including the political parties.
That is interesting. So, you're right. He's sort of tried to shut it down, but not outright rejected the idea. Do you think he is open to the idea? Do you think they deliberately floated it to see what the reaction might be?
I think that's the theory that's been circulating in the past month since the issue first came up, because the president's remarks at the cabinet meeting last weekend was basically only issued as, he was trying to floor the idea, but the public is not keen with the idea. So he's now showing it to the public that, hey, I'm not supporting this idea that my ministers basically spoken to. And so there's now the student organizations took to the street because they were protesting the stance that the president is not, firmly opposing the idea of ruling his term beyond 2024. So that's what the students were asking for. But the president has so far not firmly said anything aside from issuing the gag order.
Yeah. I mean, we saw those protests from students, but where do you think broader public opinion on this is?
The Indonesians love democracy. Indonesians love a clear constitution. Indonesians love being a president that is limited in terms of their timing in the presidency, unlike the past where we had Suharto, which ruled the country for 32 years, and it ended up being an autocracy. So the public is now really discontent with the president's stance, and now with the situation that's also adding into the tension, which is inflation of fuel prices, the scarcity of cooking oil at the market. So that's basically added into a perfect recipe for political tension that we are seeing now.
Yeah, and as you say, I mean, considering Indonesia's history, you would think it would be very problematic and could get very divisive if they try to push it much further.
Yeah, because Indonesia still has a vivid memory of what happened in 1998, what happened in 1997, the riot, the economic crisis, and then the political crisis that followed after that. So Indonesians really keen of democracy, and the people basically will defend it if someone is trying to take that away.
Indeed. It's been interesting to see that landmark legislation tackling sexual violence is now being passed. How significant a development is this?
Well, the National Commission of Violence Against Women first floored the idea in 2012, but it took lawmakers 4 years to come up with the bill, and it took another 6 years to actually pass it into law today. So it's really significant. This is a landmark regulation that basically give protections to Indonesian women, and because now the state acknowledged that cyber sexual assault, both physical and non-physical sexual harassment, forced abortion, forced contraception, forced marriage, are classified as sexual violence. But women's rights activists note that forced abortion and rape are not included as part of sexual violence because rape is a criminal act, so it's part of the criminal code already. And forced abortion, there's still like some debate about that, and it took like lawmakers like 6 years to pass into the law because Islam-based political parties at the parliament opposed to the idea of consent as part of sexual consent because they view it as state approval for extramarital sex. So it's been like a achievement so far for women's rights activists, for women in Indonesia to actually have like this bill passed into law today.
Yeah, so significant that it's been passed, but culturally, as you point out, that might be a little bit slower to embolden women to know their rights and to make complaints if necessary.
Yeah, so basically the focus of the women's rights activists now is to monitor the implementation of this regulation. And we know, like, even like if there are like criminal code that basically classify like sexual assault as a criminal, for example, like if we were being subjected to sexual assault and not many women will come forward and report it to the police because the police has still like this bias, this stigma that, oh, you're wearing like some kind of enticing clothes and that's why like you will get labeled, or you know, somehow that this is still your problem. So there are still like some stigma labeled to like being a victim of sexual assaults in Indonesia, definitely. So women's rights activists are now trying to monitor and socialize this regulation, and you know, basically to tell people that we have rights now as Indonesian women, that is, you know, we are protected by the law.
Well, it's very promising to see. Resty, great to talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.